Hello, my friends. Today I thought it might be a good idea to do a video that's kind of a Trim Healthy Mama 101. I'm in a lot of the Trim Healthy Mama Facebook groups and people have a lot of questions about the basics. And so I thought I might do a series starting with an overview of the program and then kind of break some big components down separately and put them all into a playlist. So if that sounds good to you, stick around. My name is Christy with Help for Your Journey, where my goal is to encourage and inspire you in your Trim Healthy Mama lifestyle. So first of all, a couple of housekeeping things. I am not a doctor, and I am not trying to say that anything is the way that anybody should do it. This is what I do, this is the program that I follow, and it works for me. So I'm just sharing my own experiences. I am not a certified coach with Trim Healthy Mama. They do have certified coaches, and if you go to their website, they have them all listed out. If you feel like you want to hire a coach, go for it. I'm not a coach, I'm just somebody who likes the program, and I just want to help people to be able to understand it better so they can follow it. So I am going to be, you're going to see me look down because I am going to be referencing this book. This is not the Trim Healthy Mama plan book where they really go into depth about the program. This is a cookbook that has an overview of the program in the beginning. And I really like this book. I mean, you guys, this book is thick. There are so many recipes in this book and they are fantastic. One thing that I really like about this book too is that at the back, it breaks down every recipe in this book by meal type. And we're gonna get into that in a second. So this book is great. If you have not read any of the Trim Healthy Mama books, you should do that. You should really, really do that. It will help you to be able to understand a bit of the science behind it and how our bodies work. I'm just gonna give you an overview, but it would really help if you would read the book. So you should totally, Amazon, you can find them all on Amazon. So, okay, so Trim Healthy Mama, developed by two sisters named Pearl and Serene. They had tried every diet under the sun, including some that are a little bit, we'll call them controversial, I guess. Like I think it was, I can't remember which one, did a raw vegan diet for a while, and I think she actually got like kind of sick, like she messed up her body, by doing that. And so they just were trying everything to try to figure out what is the way to eat where you can lose unwanted pounds and you can keep them off without being a crazy person. And that is for me. So if you don't know my history, I had gastric bypass done in 2017 and I've lost 130 pounds. And this is the program that I am able to follow to be in maintenance. I wouldn't mind losing another 10 pounds, but if it never happens, I'm fine with it. So I don't want to be a crazy person. I don't want to have to write everything down that I eat. I don't want to have to count anything. I don't want to weigh and measure anything. Now, I do some of those things every once in a while, but as a rule, I don't want to do that because I don't, it's really hard to do that and be like a normal person. So this is what works for me. And so let's do this. So let me get to the right spot because I just want to be able to reference a few things here. So the point of Trim Healthy Mama, bottom line, is to stabilize your blood sugars. And I don't know about you, but I used to have, my blood sugar would drop, and that's like one of the worst feelings ever. I would wake up in the middle of the night from my blood sugar crashing, and in that moment you can't think about anything else but eating. Like I feel nauseous, I'm sweating, my heart is beating really fast. Like it's a horrible feeling. And I don't get that anymore, which is pretty amazing. So we want to keep your blood sugar in balance. So we're eating foods that have a mild effect on blood sugar, not a dramatic effect on your blood sugar. So there are so many foods that you can eat. I want to encourage you. We're not focusing on the things that we can't eat. We're focusing on the things we can eat. And as we get into this and we talk about things that we can eat, you're going to see that there is not deprivation. There is not deprivation. Like sometimes I look at what I'm sitting down to eat and I almost laugh because I can't even believe that I get to eat these foods and maintain my weight. It's like a miracle. I'm not even kidding. So what we're going to say no to is white sugar and white flour. And if you are trying to lose weight temporarily, we're going to say we're going to take a pause with white potatoes normally, but that's even kind of up to you. But definitely white sugar and white flour, we're saying goodbye to those things forever. You don't need those. There are so many substitutes for those things that you're not going to miss it, I promise. So one thing that the sisters will say is that when you first start Trim Healthy Mama, you might not lose any weight at first. In fact, they say expect to not lose any weight at first. Your body, if you've done a lot of dieting, your body is probably going to need some healing on the inside, and you need to allow it to do that before it's going to start releasing weight. Sometimes, not always. And there's a learning curve to this. So if you're going to make some mistakes. And if you do, it's fine. It's fine. The all or nothing thinking of, oh, I messed up, so forget this. That's not helping you. That's not serving you well. You need to learn from your mistakes and shake it off. And one thing I kind of like that they worded in the book, practice your comeback. I really liked that. Pick yourself up with the knowledge that you are only 3 hours away from another meal where you can then make better choices. You don't have to wait till tomorrow. You don't have to wait till Monday. You don't have to wait till January 1st. You don't have to wait. You can start again on your very next meal. So I really like that. So one thing, we're getting rid of white sugar, but we're not replacing it with artificial sweeteners. I used to be addicted to Splenda, which is so bad. Aspartame, like all of those artificial sweeteners, we're not doing that. What we can do instead is stevia and different stevia blends, and monk fruit is also on plan. And you might be like, oh, well, I tried stevia before and it's gross and it has an aftertaste. There are many different brands of stevia, and I'm going to say that those make a big difference. I do use a couple of different brands, but you guys, and I'm not affiliated with Trim Healthy Mama. I don't make any money off of saying this to you. The sweeteners that Trim Healthy Mama sells are literally the best. They don't have an aftertaste. They are delicious. But it takes a minute for your taste buds to switch. So if you're trying to eat white sugar one day and then the next day you're eating stevia and then maybe you're eating some Splenda and then you're never going to get used to the taste of stevia. You're never going to like it. So you need to just kind of, I think in my opinion, have a cutoff date and say, as of this date, I will not be eating anything but stevia or stevia blends anymore. And then at first, it's not going to taste the same because it's not the same. But you just have to go into it knowing that your taste buds will adjust, and that when you eat those things, that it's actually good for you, and and just deal with it. It's not going to take long. I promise. It's not going to take long. As long as you're not doing this back and forth thing, you are going to be absolutely fine, and you are going to love the taste of the desserts. You really will. Okay, let's see what else. So we're overviewing the program here. So the gist of Trim Healthy Mama is that when we eat, the primary fuels that our body burns are carbs, fats, and proteins. Protein is going to be your anchor for every meal and snack that you have. Carbs and fats, your body burns them in a certain order. So when you eat, let's say you're eating a burger and fries, your body's going to burn the carbs from that meal first, then it's going to burn the fat from that meal. And once those two are burned, then it can finally get around to burning your body fat. Problem is that by the time it's done burning the carbs and the fat that you ate in the burger and fries, you're eating again. So your body doesn't have time to actually burn up its own fat stores. So what we're going to do, I'm sorry, I feel like my hair's weird. What we're going to do is we're going to separate carbs and fats in our meals. You can still eat fat, you can still eat carbs. We're just going to separate them. So then when you have a meal with fats, your body can burn that, and then it has time to burn your body fat before you eat again. When you have a meal with carbs, your body burns those carbs that you ate. It has time to burn your body fat before you eat again. So that's the premise. We've got to separate carbs and fat. So, and this is if you want to lose weight. If you get to maintenance or some other, if you're in a couple of other situations that we'll talk about later, there is a time when you can combine them. But if you are wanting to lose weight, you want to leave them separated. So we have a couple different ways that we're going to categorize meals. One of them is called an S, and that stands for satisfying. That is the type of meal that is going to have fat, anchored by protein, always anchored by protein. So an S meal is going to have the protein, and it can have lean or fatty protein in it. And then this is where you're going to have like butter, cheese, different things like that. This is within the context of the S meal. What we're not going to include much of in an S meal is carbs, because we're separating those. So if you're a number kind of person, which I would recommend that you don't get caught up in the numbers, in an S meal, you're going to want to keep your net carbs at 10 grams or less. Now you say, what's a net carb? If you look at the label on a food, like for instance, I have some wraps, low carb wraps that I like to use. So when I look at the nutrition information on those wraps, I see the amount of carbs, and then I see the fiber, and then I see something called sugar alcohols, maybe, depending on what kind of food it is. So when you're trying to figure out the net carbs of something, you take the total carbs, subtract the fiber, and subtract the sugar alcohols if there are any listed, and that is going to give you your net carbs. That's the number that you're going to be counting when you're having an S meal and you want to keep it at 10 grams of net carbs or less. So let's see, what we want you to do is we want you to put a lot of veggies in with your S meals. There are certain vegetables that we are going to kind of stay away from because they're really starchy, and that's going to make your blood sugar go up. And I'm trying to find, okay, so we've got white potatoes, sweet potatoes, corn, parsnips, rutabaga, and carrots in large amounts. Those are vegetables that we're going to stay away from when we have an S meal. Those can come in later. Okay, so your non-starchies, that's what you're wanting to add in. You are wanting to just, you guys know, I don't have to list out, a list of vegetables for you. There's so many vegetables, it's not even funny. Okay, next category of meal is an E, and that stands for energizing. And this is where you're going to have your carbs. Now it's going to be anchored in protein, like we've said. The protein is going to just be lean because we're separating our carbs and fat. We're going to make sure that our fat grams are staying at 5 grams or less for an e-meal. This is not, we're not being crazy people with this. So if you have something that has 6 or 7 grams of fat, I would just say we're not sweating it here, you know, because being like all about the numbers and so like just you know what I mean, like that will just make you be like, forget this, this is too hard. So we're just taking a breath, right? And we're being gentle with ourselves. So let's see, one thing, and I don't count this per se, because I feel like it's one of those things that would make me crazy. With an e-meal, you want to keep your carbs at 45 grams of net carbs or less in an e-meal. I don't really count my carbs in a meal, and I only say that because it would be very rare for me to have a meal where, let's say I have a piece of chicken and a vegetable and then I have like rice. If I was gonna just have rice on my plate, I probably would try to count that, maybe measure it out, but I don't really cook like that. If I'm gonna have rice, it's probably in a stir fry, and I've probably added in a bag of cauliflower rice and actually kept the real rice down to a minimum. So I don't worry too much about that 45 gram number, but that's up to you. If you wanna, at the beginning, be more strict about that, you just go right ahead. So we're anchoring our meals with protein, whether it's an S or an E, and we're aiming for a meal to have 20 to 30 grams of protein and a snack to have 10 grams at least. We're not stressing the numbers though. We're not stressing the numbers. This is about food freedom. Aren't you guys sick of dieting? Aren't you sick of just deprivation all the time? Like, I know I am. I'm so sick of it. So this has been such a wonderful, freeing way to eat. And there are ways, believe me, this book is thick. And there are ways to have pretty much any kind of food that you want to have in any way that you want to have it. Believe me, I am not deprived one bit. The last thing that we want to talk about in a category is, what about a food that isn't a significant source of fat, but it's also not a significant source of carbs? That is what we're going to call a fuel pull. And that is something that can round out an S meal or an E meal. You're talking about all of your non-starchy veggies, lean meat, lean dairy, and berries. So there are lots of things that you can have that are a fuel pull, and fuel pulls help fill you up. I don't do a lot of standalone meals that are fuel pulls, but I do a lot of snacks that are fuel pulls. So if you want to kind of break this down, you can say that an S meal has a lean or a fatty protein, it can have fats, and it can have non-starchy vegetables. Then an E would be lean protein, carbs, and non-starchy vegetables. And a fuel pull would be lean protein, non-starchy veggies, or berries. So that's just kind of a good way to do like a summary of the 3 different types of meals. So what we want to now talk about is juggling these meals. Okay, I've told you about S meals, I've told you about E, I've told you about fuel pull, but what does that look like in like a real person's life? I'm gonna link in the description box below a video that I posted about how I do my menu plan, and I also have a meal template. This is something that I came up with so that every time I go to eat, I'm not having to think about, do I want an S? Do I want an E? Should I do a fuel pull? I don't have to think about it because I have a template that I follow, and that does a lot of the thinking for me. So I will link that in the description box below, and hopefully that will help you. So you can have a whole day of one type of fuel. If you want to have a whole day of S, they say that that's fine. They say actually 2 days in a row of the same fuel is okay, but you really don't want to go any more than 2 days doing the same type of fuel. They do encourage that you have at least 5 e-meals per week. My template that I found that works pretty good for me is I usually do either an S breakfast and lunch with an E dinner, or I flip that and I do an E breakfast and lunch and then an S dinner, and I go back and forth. And I do have one day a week where I do all E or fuel pull for an entire day. And that's for me, like I know that the S meals are so good, like they have the fats and the butter and the cheese, but I know that if I eat like that too many meals in the week, I'm going to gain weight. So it's something that you just have to watch. You have to listen to your body, see what your body is telling you that it needs, and just kind of see what the scale is telling you without becoming a crazy person with the scale. See what the scale is telling you and then adjust. You know, if what you did one week isn't working, then the next week you adjust it. Doesn't mean you have to throw in the towel and quit. You just adjust and you move on. So we want to be eating every 3 to 4 hours. Try not to go longer than 4 hours without any protein, because that's not a good idea to do that. But constantly nibbling all day is not good either. If you're constantly doing little nibbles, your body is having to burn that off and it's never getting a chance to get to your own body fat. So we want to give our bodies a chance to burn what we eat and then have a time of not eating so that our body can burn our stored fat. So if you're going to change from one type of meal to another, let's say you're going from S to E, you want to have at least 2.5 to 3 hours in between. And that might seem like I don't have time to figure all that out. That's where my meal template helps out, because what I choose to do is that, let's say I have an S breakfast and lunch, then I always will have a fuel pull snack between lunch and dinner. So it doesn't matter at that point if I end up having an S dinner for some reason or I have an E dinner. I know that I'm hitting that space in between that fuel change because my snack was a fuel pull. Does that make sense? If you watch that video with the menu template or the meal template, that will help explain it. You'll be able to see it written out, and I think that will kind of explain it a little bit better if you're not understanding what I mean. So, fuel pulls are great for snacks. So usually at night, I will have a fuel pull for a snack, except for if I have an S dinner, then I usually will have an S snack, because S snacks are just delicious. Not that E snacks are not delicious, because they totally are, but I'm just as happy with a fuel pull snack as I am with an E snack. And Pinterest is another place that you can find a bajillion recipes. So that's a great way. And in the Trim Healthy Mama Facebook groups, oh my gosh, you search in there and you will just find an answer to every single question that you could possibly have. So, I guess another thing that I will mention in here is that, what happens if you eat something and it has fat and carbs together? And Trim Healthy Mama has given that kind of a name, just like the S and E's, and they call it a crossover. So crossovers are completely on plan. They're just not conducive to weight loss. So if you eat something that has fats and carbs in the same meal, it doesn't mean that you've gone off plan. It doesn't mean that you need to throw in the towel. It's just, if you need to lose weight, doing that often is not going to help you lose weight. But for kids, growing kids, for pregnant and nursing moms, for husbands who, have really physical jobs, maybe people who have really like high metabolism and they're just like naturally skinny people, crossovers are a great way for them to eat, because if you're not eating crossovers, then most likely you're going to be losing weight. And if you don't want to lose weight, which I can't ever imagine saying, if you don't need to lose weight, crossovers are a good way to make sure that you don't. I guess is just what I'm trying to say. So that is pretty much what I wanted to give you for an overview. So please give yourself some grace, give yourself some time to get used to this. Don't beat yourself up if you make a mistake. Don't throw in the towel if you don't lose weight in the beginning. It took you a long time to get to where you are right now. No matter how much weight you have to lose, no matter how unhealthy you might be, it took you a long time to get to this point, and it's going to take you time to reverse that. So you have to be gentle and kind with yourself. So I hope that this was a help to you explaining the program. Please get the book, please read the book, join the Facebook groups. I mean, this is something, we can't do this alone, right? And especially if nobody else in your family is following Trim Healthy Mama, having people that you can bounce ideas off of, get recipe ideas from, it's just, it helps to have people to do it with you. So I hope that you found value in this video. If you did, will you please give it a like? And even more, if you would subscribe to my channel, I would really appreciate it. That just helps YouTube know that there are people out here who are interested in this type of content, and they'll push that out to other people. So hopefully I can help more people. So I really appreciate you watching this video today, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye for now.